April 11, 2013 special meeting of the Eanes Board of Trustees. First order of business is to establish a quorum. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum present? Let the record reflect we do have a quorum. Good evening and thank you for coming tonight. I think people are still coming in, which is good. We hope we get a good turnout tonight. As most of you know, the district has been engaged in a facilities master planning process over the last several months. That process has been a community-wide initiative aimed at examining the district's facilities and the relationship to the district's vision and strategic goals. Tonight represents the next step in that process, a community forum dedicated to a discussion and talking about the plan that has evolved thus far and what we hope continues to evolve. The school board, in conjunction with the administration, commissioned this process. We are keenly interested in the master planning process and the results today. That is why we wanted to make tonight's meeting a special meeting of the school board, and that's what we have done. We are joined tonight by our superintendent, Dr. Nola Wellman, and representatives of Broadus Planning and the Cunningham Group, two of the groups that we have retained to help us with the master planning process. At this point, I will turn it over to Dr. Wellman, who will introduce representatives and outline the plan for tonight.
Great, thank you very much, Mr. Harder. Members of the board, this has been a quite rewarding process because of the affirmation of our goals and that you've set and that you review quite frequently, but also that discussion about the goals and the direction for our district, not only on an annual basis, but on 5 and 10 years out. 10-year basis. What do we want? What do we see in the future? What could we accomplish in certain circumstances? And we have taken what we talked about today was our tree of our goals and our vision is the basis for this plan, and then the branches become our instructional methodology, our technology, our facilities, all of the support for the Eanes School District. I have been very impressed with the thinking, the attention, the commitment of the participants. We had today new people who arrived yesterday and today and participated, and I anticipate that involvement will continue. I'd like to introduce Mr. Stephen Colston, who is our representative from Broadus Planning, who's organized our procedures, our methodology, kept us on the right track, and done most of the planning for how we are moving forward. And then we have our representatives from Cunningham Group who are really working on the meat and potatoes of what we're doing. So, Mr. Colston, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wellman, members of the board, and of course the community. I think you said this is a special session tonight, and I think you will find it special and perhaps a little different and unusual from your more typical board study sessions, and that should be a lot of fun. And I'm excited to see the community members here tonight who are all actively participating in this process. To reiterate what Dr. Wellman just said, we've been delighted to see kind of the expansion even of the Working Advisory Committee to include further expansion of task force members who include a cross-section of representatives from the community, including a lot of students, of which I see a lot more students here tonight. So that's most excellent. It's added a whole new fun dimension and level of excitement to our to the dialogue. Just one quick housekeeping item. Catherine, my colleague, is I think circulating a sign-in list. If you wouldn't mind, go ahead and sign in. We're trying to do as best a job we can is capturing a lot of the participation through the process, so that would be very helpful. We'll just circulate that around here. I'm going to get out of the way because we have a lot of meaty and fun stuff to cover tonight. I think I said the last time that we got together, we're trying to make this deep, thoughtful, intellectual, and fun, and I think the members of Cunningham and Phil's team are going to be really have you keep everybody on their toes and give you some good meaty information to update you on progress so far. With that, I would like to introduce Judy, who's going to come up here and introduce the rest of the agenda, as well as the team members from their firm and team who will be working with us. Judy?
Thanks, everybody. It's just a delight to be here this evening and to have spent, once again, the last couple of days with so many of you really articulating the next steps in the evolution of the master plan draft, emphasis on draft as it continues to evolve. This is a working, living document. In the end, it is not something that should just sit on a shelf. We hope it is something that you will continually use, revisit, and update so it really does serve the district to the fullest extent possible. Let's tell you a little bit about where we've been. The last couple of days, we started with a review of the principles that the group developed from our previous symposium, and we evolved those into a set of standards. Today, we did a gap analysis, and we looked at, okay, if this is the vision and the principles and the standards for the master plan, then using that lens, how does each facility support those? Do they support them well or not? Just want to emphasize this point again because it is truly very, very important. And this was also something that Dr. Wellman was reinforcing. A truly effective master plan must be grounded in your vision, your mission, and your goals for the district. It's unique to this district. It is unlike any other master plan that you might see across other districts as well. So it's very important that we have your voice in this process. We celebrate and respect the participation from as many of you as possible in really tailoring this plan to be your plan. The 8 themes from the community dialogues from last year also formed the foundation for this master plan. It's a little bit more about the process. Just as this is a summary now of the first symposium when we were here, what did we say, 4 weeks, 5 weeks ago? We started out by looking at the forces of change. Learning hasn't changed any in the last 50 years. What has changed is our understanding of how all of us learn. And so understanding that each and every one of you brings a unique perspective to this process, we encouraged your participation to hear your voices and what you feel are going to be those elements of change for the world that we are preparing our students to be successful in. There's always stuff that gets in the way, and we thought it would be great if we just brought it to the surface and got it out of the way, dealt with it so we could move on. Many of you were at movie night, and again, what that was about was to take and share some of the latest research about learning, again, so that everything we do in the master planning process is grounded in the learning and the learners here at Eanes ISD. Many of you have seen this. This is the working draft of the symposium, the report that's been posted on the website. If you have not had a chance to take a look at it, please familiarize yourself with it. And if you have any questions and or concerns, please get back. It's your document, so we want to make the information available to all of you. So where are we going? Let's talk a little bit about that. 3 elements formed the work that we were involved in this week. We came back with the latest evolution and development of the vision for the master planning effort. We talked about facility principles and we talked about facility standards. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail of those in a minute. Go ahead, John. And if I I could have Dr. Bechtel come forward. He's going to share the latest draft of the shared vision statement that supports this effort.
Thank you. I'm not going to use that. I was lucky to be principal here for 4 years, and I didn't have to use a microphone with 400 plus kids. I'm fine. In this process, during the symposium, after we identified those changing forces, we were asked to imagine Eanes ISD being highly successful in the year 2025. And if visitors came, new parents, educators from other school districts to look at our school, what would we see? And so we worked in small groups, parents, community members, principals, teachers, everyone was part of the advisory group, around chart tablets like that, and scrawled out all kinds of things. That was all captured, and then a subcommittee of 3 parents, 1 principal, and me put together all of that into this statement. So it says, Eanes ISD will provide facilities and environments that foster collaboration between extremely important, both for students and teachers, and enhance engagement, exploration, and physical application of lifelong learning. Community of learners, very important phrase. We go beyond just the students, the staff are learners, the parents are learners, the entire community is part of our facility. We will have technology-rich, energy-efficient, fiscally responsible, and financially sustainable facilities to provide opportunities for student choice in creative and enriching activities and promote the involvement of the greater Eanes community. And then finally, these facilities will provide furniture, tools, and work spaces that are forward-thinking, flexible, and adaptable. And that's really been pushed the last couple of days, how we need to be able to adapt to all the coming changes. Relevant, meaningful, and personalized learning. Facilities and environments will allow intentional design of experiences and life skills necessary for each student at a global. That's what we took from multiple chart tablets and put together. That's been revised a couple of times. Anyone have any questions about anything? Any of the words or phrases? Thank you.
And may I too, let me do it. You know how we firmly believe that all of us can learn, but that all of us learn differently? I was not, no surprise, one of those learners that can sit in the chair. I had to move around. So if you will allow me, I will move around for the rest of sharing this story with you. So let's take a look at the next image, John. So here exactly is what we finished yesterday, is we brought back a draft of the facility principles. And very simply, those are the overarching commitments to what's important for all schools in Eanes ISD. So once we came up with that vision that Dr. Bechtel just shared with all of you, then we talk about, okay, what are we going to commit to make that happen? Next. We're going to share the overall principles with you. You also have those in more detail on the handouts that you picked up when you walked in the door. So let's just go over those for a minute. Flexible, adaptable, responsive, providing facilities for diverse and varied learning experiences, for enriching activities, and for work to support achievement by all learners of all ages. Each and every one of us is a learner. Our schools need to be resources for the entire community. Next, collaboration and creativity. Eanes ISD is committed to creating a culture that fosters collaboration and creativity in its facilities and environments. There's so much research around the significance of instilling creativity, innovation, creative problem solving, curiosity, communication, citizenship in our students in order to successfully compete in a global knowledge economy. A lot of that then has impacts on the learning activities that need to be supported within our facilities. Next. Quality infrastructure. Eanes ISD is committed to providing environments that are safe, secure, healthy, accessible, inviting, and learning compatible. Learning is all about risk-taking. We need to make sure that we create the kinds of environments that allow our students to stretch outside of themselves to be the best that they can be. Environmental stewardship, providing facilities, systems, equipment, and service areas that are energy efficient, easy to maintain, mindful of current and future resources, and exemplify a focus on environmental stewardship and sustainability. How do we take the element of sustainability and really drive it down so that it's embedded in our philosophy and in our learners to understand their roles as stewards of our environments? Drenched in technology. Don't you love that one? Drenched in technology. Eanes ISD is committed to providing secure, adaptable, compatible technology tools that support and interface with learning and are globally relevant. How do we leverage technology to support the learning that you want to have happen here in your district? Finally, community connections. Eanes ISD is committed to fostering community within schools and promoting involvement with and by the greater community. Again, that speaks to the fact that our schools are indeed resources for everyone here. Next, facility standards. Then what we did is we talked, okay, if these are the commitments that we're making in support of the vision that we've articulated, then what impact does that have on our facilities? So, essentially, they define consistency, value, and quality across all Eanes Independent School District facilities as they are maintained, improved, or built. Now, I am not going to go through all of those with you because you have those in your possession. And we'll let you review those at your leisure. Next. Okay, we had a very fun and very rigorous exercise this afternoon where then we took all of those facility standards that you see in front of you and we asked our participants to evaluate each school against those standards. And so now they were asked to rank them either whether they met or exceeded the standards, whether they were workable, or whether it does not meet the standard. And they were asked to use colors to help convey those evaluations. Next. So, to that end, we're gonna really enliven things a little bit and have you experience a little bit of the flavor that went on today. We're going to ask each of you to break into 9 groups, and we are going to have you flow through a speed tour of these assessments of the standards that were done for each of our facilities. We have asked principals to stand by each of the schools, and also we have a student that is willing to share the insights of the high school. Come on back, everybody. I would like to do a special shout out to Raj Mehta. Didn't he do a phenomenal job, everybody? And you know what? That's why we're here. It's for wonderful students, just like you. Okay, John, let's move it forward. What we'd like to do now is just take a moment and reflect upon what you saw. And we'll try to do this briefly and succinctly, but I'm going to ask 2 questions, and I would like to direct those to the board first. Yes?
Judy, there were questions about who was involved today. I think we mentioned a lot in the groups. We did this, we said that. Would you explain who was involved today
Okay.
in that event?
All right. And piggybacking onto that, if you were participating today, could you just all raise your hands? Okay. All right. So I hope I don't forget anyone. But we had, again, the main point being we're trying to really broaden the participation of everybody contributing to these conversations. So we had staff, we had board members, we had principals, we had members of all of the different subcommittee groups. We had students. Who am I forgetting?
Parents,
Parents, absolutely.
community members who do not have children in school.
You know what, and that was wonderful. And that really speaks to the point that, again, our schools really do need to be resources for the entire community. And so their voice was particularly appreciated as well. Anybody else, Dr. Wellman?
This is a master plan task force in which membership is not closed, in which we are keeping those doors open. We have another symposium coming up in May, and anyone who, it is an intense amount of time. We spent 4 hours yesterday and 4 hours today in the conversation, and but it does help to have so many members of the staff, community, and students all talking together as we move forward. So if you are interested in participating in any of those, we would invite you to give maybe Stephen or Catherine your name, and we'll make sure you get information. In addition, I know as we went around, there was talk about PLCs. And again, educators are very good at acronyms that if you're not in our field, you're wondering what in the world we're talking about with IEPs, PLCs, ATS. We just use a lot of those. PLCs are professional learning communities, and it is a structured process at schools to ensure that students are learning at the highest levels. It's professional learning community, and the adults are committed to student learning, whatever it takes. And so their conversations are around the learning, the lessons, the pedagogy, the curriculum, what are the support structures. All of those conversations are part of what happens for a professional learning community. And as a philosophy in a school, believing that we're a professional learning community means that we are focused on every child, and every child receiving the education that we know that they can. And so that's what it's about. You'll hear us talking about time, teachers and staff taking time to talk about all of these structures that go into an strong education. So we spend a lot of time talking about PLCs. So.
Thank you, Dr. Wellman. I appreciate that. Okay. So, members of the board, I would like to direct this question to you first, and then we'd like to open the same question up to the community. So the first one is, and hopefully you have the handouts in front of you. As you consider the consolidated vision and the principles and standards, is there anything still missing? Have we captured everything correctly? And Kathy Wallace is going to kind of capture any feedback that you're willing to share, and we'll just take a moment to kind of reflect to make sure that we capture your voice as well in this conversation.
I'll start. Money. We're missing money.
We're missing money. And can you elaborate on that, please, Ron?
There are a lot of things that would be nice to be able to put into effect from the plans if we have the money to do it. The collaborativeness and the different types of free space learning environment, things of that nature that unfortunately think about.
Thank you. Another comment from the board, please.
This is not a criticism or a complaint. It's totally an observation.
Right.
But I was struck by how what we believe and that sort of thing included the broader community, community of learners, the greater Eanes community. In other words, folks who are not students
Right.
or staff.
Yep.
The parent community, those without children
Yes.
currently in school. And I'm not sure I saw that reflected in the tour discussions that we had.
Okay. All right.
I'm not sure what it means.
Okay.
I'm not sure, I don't know if that means space for volunteers, space for adult learning opportunities, more open campuses for physical activity.
Yes.
By broader, I don't know what it means yet, but I didn't really.
I know we tried to capture many of those things in the standards, but we'll take another look at those and make sure that we've got
It
those
could be more
captured.
programmatic.
Yep.
Or
Right.
equally programmatic as physical.
Okay. Yes, please.
So I'd like to, first of all, thank everybody for their efforts in putting this together. It was fun to have everyone kind of mingle around and get together and not be sitting looking at PowerPoint. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it. And there was one thing that caught my attention when you went through the earlier, and I believe the words were community connection.
Yes.
And that related to professional learning communities, but I really appreciate, we live in such a technology-rich city. We have so many smart engineers, terrific people that are in our environment, and any way that we can combine professional learning communities with a community connection and involve more of the high-tech firms that are around us, I just think that'd be terrific.
Oh, absolutely. Capitalize on the unique resources that this
Absolutely.
community has. And then
I'd like to bounce off Mike's
Yes.
comment because I agree with him. I think, and I'm not saying this is a shortcoming of what's developed so far because I haven't had a chance to study it in depth. But I think so much, and I've had the benefit of I've got high schoolers and I have a young one, and I've had kids go through the system, and I think so much of the strength of our high school is the multifaceted programs we offer, the extracurricular activities, the chance to develop the whole student. And I know that we've been on a mission the last few years to make the high school a welcoming place for all students. I think we need to keep moving in that direction. Different kids have different strengths, and I think we want to have exciting opportunities for everyone.
Absolutely.
And I also think that dovetail with what Mike just said, I want to see, and it certainly emerged at the community dialogues last year, I want to see a collaborative effort with businesses in the local area, with internships, with kids getting opportunities to maybe turn on to something that they didn't know they were good at or that they were never exposed to in their home environment.
Absolutely. It's a way for them to connect their learning to real life so they see the purpose for why they're learning what they're learning. Excellent comments. Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes. The word collaboration came up a lot
Yes.
in the notes, and I think a lot of our campuses pose that obstacle. A lot of teachers are closed off in their classrooms, and I don't know what the right answer is, whether the math teachers get a lot out of being near other math teachers to share their experiences and their lessons, etc., or the interdisciplinary approach and how both of those can be incorporated into collaborate, some type of space to collaborate, because interdisciplinary is important, but I think also disciplinary is important.
Absolutely, and I think that speaks to the flexibility so that it can be organized to support either. And those comments have been coming up in the conversation, so that's really important. Likewise, we'll make sure that the things we're hearing tonight as well get captured and incorporated in, and then we'll put that back out for everybody for review again. Any other comments from the board? If not, open it up, same question to the community. As you look at the vision, the principles, and the standards, is there anything missing? What did you resonate with the most?
Got one here, Judy.
Yes, please.
One thing I didn't see specifically called out. One thing I didn't see specifically called out was, which has been in previous master plans, is the concept of having the particularly elementary school campuses located more proximate to the students' homes. For example, the Valley View attendance zone is, some 8 miles away with traffic. Those young children are on buses for a very long time, and it also has impacts on the ability to participate in after-school extracurricular activities and such. And I didn't see that called out anywhere.
Good point. So we'll, Kathy is busily scripting all these points, so another?
And that was a good segue for what I wanted to bring up was the biking and walking accessibility and actually promotion of that using alternative transportation to come to school. And also the promotion, I see that outdoor learning settings are in here, but there's also, I think, the need just for being outdoors, especially at the middle and high school. And, I've seen some schools that would just put a fence around all their woods and everything and make entrance through that so that they didn't worry about their kids being outdoors. But, our schools are built around just beautiful hill country accessibility, but it's not accessible to them. And I think that we need to put something in there about not just an outdoor classroom, which is extremely valuable, but that has a lot to do with teacher training and accessibility as well, but to the grounds being accessible to kids.
Hi, I have children that's gone through the school system, and they started here, and one of them is just about to graduate from Rice, so that's really nice. I will have to say one comment about that's not about facilities, is she got to Rice and she said she was so well prepared that the first year was sort of useless for her. So that's my vote for less homework. I'm going to put that plug in there. Yeah, didn't need to be quite that well prepared. I second I'm an environmental educator, and I second in a big way outdoor education. There's a person called Richard Blue who wrote The Last Child in the Woods, who I hope you guys have all read, and basically they put together a group called CNC, which is Children in Nature Network. And they did some studies. They put the money behind it in studies, and they discovered that kids were outdoors 7 minutes a day if you didn't have sports. And I thought that was absolutely insane, and I went and I started clocking my high schooler. It's 7 minutes a day when he goes from the car to the classroom. So then he and I actually got out the layout of the school, and I said, where are your green spaces? Where can you go? And it was very, very, for all the acreage you have, it was very small. And then I know before that, when we were at West Ridge Middle School, you have the most astounding green belt back there. It's amazing. And I have taken master naturalists back there. We've been classes there are rare and endangered species. It could be the most magnificent outdoor learning classroom that you could have. So back to the outdoor area, one of the big things I came out with was not just classrooms, but kids have to have unstructured time outdoors, like the rest of us did, which when we were told, just go away, get out of the house until dinner, that's it. And we may need a little more structure. We, burned up things and we exploded cans of spray paint, but it was absolutely probably the most profound development I think the kids ever had. So, I think that really, really accessing the Gorgeous Hill Country and making it, and of course you have to do a safety stuff, but making it available to all these kids. And
Thank you. We have someone.
Judy, you can have him use it and you'll
Thank
have
you.
one.
Okay.
I'm Jim Frenzy, and one of my daughters goes to school here, and I didn't do a study on this, but I really think that the time from Lake Hills to here is unacceptable, if not regrettable. Our children already have a lot of homework in elementary school. They have a half-hour bus ride. I mean, I don't know what other schools have half-hour bus rides. I mean, maybe I didn't study it like I said, but I mean, it's pretty unexcusable. I don't know what I was thinking to be that far from the elementary school. I don't like it. I don't know why we have to be that far away, or we don't have a school closer to us. But they're already tired from being on the bus. It's a lot of downtime. It's not productive. They aren't well monitored. A lot of nonsense goes on the bus. 30 minutes each way to school on the bus is a long time to be very well unsupervised. And 45 minutes, okay. I mean, that's inexcusable. I'm just beside myself that that's what we have to deal with. And I realize high school is a different matter. You're 15, you're more self-sufficient. You're driving, you can even carpool. But an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old in a bus, I mean, those kids were 5th graders and stuff. Some not so great things happen mixing these little kids in really long bus rides. And I've lived here for 13 years, and I haven't seen anything progress for that. And personally, I feel that the Lake Hills area is just very well neglected. And I love this school. Valley View is fantastic. The teachers, the facilities, everything about it is great. But the time on a bus is just unacceptable, and I think we deserve better.
Any other comments? Yes, please.
I just kind of want to sort of dovetail off what Rob was saying. One of the challenges I think that we have is this 70% of the community that doesn't have a kid in school and doesn't have a quote-unquote vested interest like some of us maybe have. And I think the closer that we can bring our facilities and our programming and our curriculum to the community, provide services, whether that's a community garden, or that's environmental programs, or whether working with other businesses, I think we prove and we show to that 7% that the value in this community in great part is based in the schools. And I think if we're going to look out 10 years into the future, we have got to look for innovative, collaborative ways to bring that 70% into what we're doing through programs that are, quote, non-academic with our students. I think that has got to be something that's part of the master plan. So that 70% becomes not just okay with what we're doing, but passionate about keeping it that way and building it for the future.
Thank you. Other comments? Yes.
I wanted to make a quick comment in response, Ronna, to what you had mentioned about missing money. It's true that a lot of the things that we've talked about are certainly going to mean future bond measures for years to come. But one of the quotes that Cunningham Group said early on, and they reiterated it, is that not all innovation does cost money. And one thing that's free is a mindset. And I think one of the things that our community is I think going to have to grapple with as we move forward through this process is we're not just talking about changing the look of our facilities, we're talking about changing our curriculum and changing how we engage in learning and adopt, that change is going to mean some risk in whether or not we move forward and try those new things. So mindset is free, and I encourage us all to donate to that.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, one more. You bet. Never apologize.
I just wanted to actually confirm and support what you're doing about all the collaboration in the classrooms. I just listened to Dean Hutchins, who is the Rice University Dean, and they're actually changing all their classrooms in the long run. They're getting rid of all desks, and they're going to have tables. And what they're doing is switching where they're doing homework, and you may have already talked about this. They're doing homework, the homework would be you already talked
They're
about
flipping it.
They're flipping it,
Yep.
yeah, so I'm,
Yep.
and I'm happy.
And you know what I think is so exciting about that? Is that now we are starting to see a more holistic approach and connection between K-12 and higher ed. It's critical to a successful learning experience.
Can you explain what flipping means?
You bet.
Who haven't
That's a
heard that
great
term?
question. Flipping involves taping your lectures ahead of time so that the students can watch them on their own time ahead of the actual meeting time with the professor, so that they come prepared to contribute to a meaningful conversation, and or if they are working on problems, that they can actually work on problems together with professors and get help when they need it, as opposed to struggling at home alone.
We have high school classes doing that.
Yes. And isn't that
Yeah.
phenomenal?
Parents are
Absolutely. Yeah. Any other comments? Dr. Wellman, do we have time for the second question? And I will direct it to members of the board. First, what were the aha moments for you as you went through the speed touring experience? What things stood out the most? What did you learn that you didn't know before? So you'll be asked to respond to that second. But if we could start with members of the board, please.
I think what I learned is how formulaic our layouts are, how traditional. I don't mean to say they're like jail cells, but everything's the same. And I don't think that we knew 10 years ago. Maybe the professionals knew that we were going to evolve on the way kids learn, but kids are learning differently these days. Our children learn, for hundreds of years we learned the same way, and most of us learned the same way. Our kids it's been a kind of watershed change, and our facilities are going to have to reflect some of that.
You captured that wonderfully. It used to be just primarily kind of a lecture style with the teacher standing up in front of the classroom instructing, and now learning is much more constructive, where everybody participates and is actively engaged. That has spatial implications. Other comments from the board? Yes.
The collaborative nature of kids learning among themselves, I think gives a deeper level of learning a lot of times, and those that may not be as readily able to get up and speak or even raise their hand in class in a small group, they can do that. And so, you know, when I was talking before about money, one of the things I'm thinking is it's kind of tough to drag those great big chairs around the room and reconfigure the room every time you have an activity. So those were kind of the things I was thinking about, because small group environments give a lot of other kids that don't always have a voice, and those are really important voices sometimes.
It's a one-size-fits-no-one, really. Yeah. Yes, please.
I just noticed a lack of space for collaboration, not only for the students, but for the faculty as well.
Yes.
I noticed a lot of the campuses have a lot of space constraints for expansion or for changing the way it is due to the size of the acreage around the schools. And I found that some of the schools really had underutilized outdoor spaces. So that they exist, they're there, but they're maybe not to where they could be.
Yes. Good observations and wonderful opportunities. Yes, please.
I noticed a good number of the older schools the elementary schools were designed for 3 grade levels. And now we've got 5 in them, and it makes some of the design is difficult to work now.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
You know, it's so interesting that all of us, we are very familiar with the schools that our children went to, but we don't often get that opportunity to really get a sense of the other schools in the district. And so this hopefully was a good way to kind of familiarize yourselves with all their challenges. Yep.
The project-based collaborative learning has been mentioned, so I won't repeat that, but I was struck by how excited the presenters were, and therefore the teams were with that. And it goes back to what Julie was saying about mindset. I think the mindset is busily changing already, and that's really exciting to see.
The energy in the room the last 2 days was just incredible. Really, really was. Yes, please.
I'm impressed by what our principals and teachers are doing with the facilities that we have, where they're 30 plus years old, at capacity, and I'm struck by the number of areas for improvement at each facility. It sort of makes you wonder what people were thinking back then when the campus was built in terms of, didn't they notice that, or the architect, or, and so I think this is a great opportunity to look for areas for improvement, but then how do we get from here to there?
Right.
And so that to me is, the kind of a daunting challenge.
And can I address that a little bit? The purpose of a master plan is to really have the roadmap laid out so that you can implement improvements logically over time. And so we've been asked in this master plan to break it down into a 3, 6, and 10-year time frame for implementation. And so the things that you're doing at the 3-year are still logical at the 10-year.
Judy, if I could just ask, in terms of, not something that's missing, but in terms of looking ahead, it would be very nice to see for all of the campuses, what are some of the features of that campus that really work, so that, and maybe that would help inform kind of what maybe the ideal campus is, and then also what are the lessons learned from the design or layout or functions of a campus that don't work.
Okay.
And for those reasons, and I think that would also be informative.
Great suggestions.
Can I expand on this concept of the outdoor?
Yes, please.
Colleen mentioned and Ms. Lady mentioned earlier. I think technology is wonderful and it's clearly here to stay, but I think one of the downsides is that kids aren't learning to write thank you notes. They're not learning to speak in groups and have to make presentations. I think that to some extent manners are fading. And I think that interacting outside, team sports, athletics, learning in an outdoor environment, I don't think we want to lose sight of that.
Right. Yeah, good points.
I think kids need to be kids still.
Yes, absolutely. Any other comments from the board? Same question out here. Yes, please. Thanks, Dr. Wellman.
Just a note on the facilities and the learning and the type of things that I'm hearing this evening. I am an Austinite, not born here, but here since I was 4. I went to Doss Elementary, and at Doss Elementary, go Owls, we had accordion doors between our classrooms that were open, but not always, because teachers found that when you got 60 kids together, that's a lot of kids, a lot of elementary school kids. I went to Anderson High School, where they had a huge open classroom. It was the latest thing. I'm 50, so I'm a child of the 60s and 70s. That's my educational period. But Anderson had a big open concept room where we were all going to be working together and we were all going to share. And they found out that that doesn't work because high schoolers are high schoolers. And you want to have a time when some kids can do really well and some can't. And so as far as I know, they've actually closed those off. They do go into each other's classrooms, but the open didn't work. I student taught at Fabian Elementary in Leander, and they had a massive open area for their 5th grade classrooms, and teachers would end up talking like this because their kids couldn't learn. The teacher next door to them was talking, and the kids would be distracted. And a collaborative learning environment with 120 5th graders just wouldn't have worked. It just, the distractions, the different learning abilities. My caution is that while what we're talking about is not all new, I've been there. I've done self-paced math where it was going to be the latest and greatest, and now I can't do math to save my life because it was the latest and greatest. Everything old isn't bad, and everything that has been, it shouldn't be thrown out because we've heard a new thing at some conference somewhere, or someone has done it and it's a great video, but I'm concerned that we're coming to something and we just want to toss out something because the word old is attached to it. And let's proceed cautiously.
Good concerns. You know, the points that you raise are points that you hear oftentimes, particularly with some of the open schools that were done in the 60s. And an important distinction that I think is made between the conversations that we're having today versus what took place back then is there was not the staff training that was integrated into that process to help the staff understand how to leverage that kind of space to support their the range of instructional delivery methods. Oftentimes they were just asked to continue to teach in their traditional methods in spaces that did not support that. Secondly, there wasn't the staff collaboration time built into the schedule so that if you had one teacher offering a test one day next to another teacher that was doing something very, very active, obviously there were conflicts and it did not work. I think a lot has been learned since those plans were introduced, and I think it also speaks to the fact that the conversations now are not trying to do away with the lecture style, but it's to offer more choices for those students that learn differently. Any other comments from? Yes, please. It's Frash, did I say that right?
Hi, I just wanted to comment that as the example of using desks and using tables, the idea that just using tables instead of desks in the simplest classroom in Eanes district lets the kids do something better because they have the flexibility to create their own education in a way, in that they can have their own choices on how to arrange themselves to get their own work done. And by learning that choice and that flexibility, they get skills of deciding what they want for themselves that are useful when even regardless of what kind of results they have in that class. And that designing facilities for flexibility like that let the kids learn how to choose.
Thank you. Any other comments, ahas? Yes, Julie.
Two things came to mind. One was hand in hand with this approach with the master planning, are there demographic studies that we're referencing? Because I think that would really facilitate that. And then secondly is that, we talked about money and clearly bond measures, but it seems like there's going to need to be some alleviated M&O money to pay for curriculum and staff training, because I think as it was brought up, you can have the space, but if the teachers don't know how to teach this new curriculum or this new methodology, it's not going to work as well. So two thoughts there. Thanks.
Anybody else?
Yes. I was going to say that along with the money for training, I think there's a lot of opportunity to collaborate on training, especially in informal science and using outdoor spaces. There's I could give you, a whole list of people who can come out and help with that, and it does not cost. So I think there's ways to collaborate in the community to make these things happen without using money. And as far as the facilities, the thing that jumped out at me was the lack of windows. And I know a lot of some of the schools had really great natural lighting, but it wasn't windows where the kids could see outside. And I think it was that old school thought of, we need to have them focused and they won't pay attention and they'll be distracted. And again, I think that has a lot to do with a child's sense of well-being, not being contained in a jail cell or a cubicle. And then I just wanted to make a comment about the technology. I think that, I agree the technology is here to stay, but I think it is one of those things, just like the no-window classroom, that tends to bring a student's focus inward onto a screen. And, like Barbara said, there's been lots of studies, and particularly showing that kids have 12 to 13 hours of screen time. That's not all school's fault. Of course, they go home and watch TV, and they're on their iPhones, and now they're on their iPads. And, when I blogged with one of the specialists on the website to answer questions, she was not aware that this was even a problem, which the whole book, Children in Nature, Last Child in the Woods, is about this problem of being plugged in and kids not getting outdoors. So I think that as far as money is concerned, that it really wasn't necessary for every child in Eanes to have an iPad, especially at the elementary level, when experiential learning is so vital to a child's development. And I think that I would challenge the district to put their focus on facilities and technology so that at least 50% of the learning was real world, not virtual.
Thank you. Another comment? Yes, please.
I'm just going to piggyback on that. My son spends an inordinate amount of time on the screen. If he would put the kind of time and energy and effort into any subject that he puts into Minecraft, collaborating with his friends, talking, learning cheats, learning things, building that thing, I think the iPad initiative actually is amazing within reason. I think that a lot of the training that we have to pay for has to go into teaching teachers and the community how to best use the iPads. And I would love to see sort of a combination of what you were saying, in that we do the flipped classroom thing where the kids at home at night are doing more of the teaching to the test garbage and the stuff that they have to do online, but then the time that's spent in the classroom is more one-on-one with the teachers and going deeper into the subjects and collaborating and doing fun, ways of teaching things that can come up to the Minecraft level. So,
excellent, thank you. Anybody else have a comment that they'd like to share?
I'll just add one quick thing on the back of all this, was that in the study that they did with Richard Louv, there was a school, a principal in Houston, who the day before the tax test, she let her kids have the entire day off. They went and played in the park. There was no structure whatsoever. And the test scores went up by 10% across the board. So, yeah.
Just an observation, it looked like a lot of the schools were full, or they've added classrooms. So I just didn't know if there was a way to anticipate any additional growth in the district. You just see a lot of companies relocating to the Austin area, and I'm not sure if all the neighborhoods are built out yet.
Thanks. I grew up in a small district. I graduated with the kids I went to first grade with, so we had one elementary school, one middle school, and one high school. And so this experience, I have 4 children. My oldest is a 3rd grader, so we'll be using a lot of facilities over the next few years. But we've recently had an experience where a class from Cedar Creek came and interacted with a class in Barton Creek. And I would like to see a little bit more collaboration inter-campus-wide. And there's technology there that would make that very simple to do. And I think it might be extremely valuable, especially since my kids right now only get to meet peers that they may attend middle school with in a few years, right now only through sports and playing on a baseball team with them or something. And it would be great in an academic environment to be able to see and interact with their peers, whether it's video conferencing or classroom switches. I'm not sure what the solution was, but it was a neat experience to see my 3rd grader interact with a 3rd grader from another school in an academic environment and not just on a sporting field. So that'd be something I'd like to
really
add to
good
that.
points, thank you. Any of our students here this evening want to add else? Feel comfortable? We sure appreciate your points of view. Yes, great, thank you.
I know that we've said a lot of stuff about like the iPad and stuff like that, and how it's used or how it can be used at least for education. As a student in Westlake, everyone gets iPads. A lot of people do use it for education. There are also a lot of people that do get distracted by games like Angry Birds and whatnot. And that's with high school students. That's with people that are about to go to college and be on their own and live their own lives later. And I'm just not sure how that's going to translate well with elementary school students. That availability to be able to play games or get distracted on a screen during classrooms.
Thank you. Anybody else? We give everybody a chance? Yes, please, one more.
Yeah, I'd actually like to address technology a little more. I'm a lobbyist for the telecommunications industry, and I'd say that in Texas, there's a huge wealth of experience in technology, and you'll feel more literal in technology by using iPads, computers early on. And in other states that I go to, the kids don't even see a computer until 10th grade even. And sure, there's Angry Birds, Minecraft, all that stuff. Sure, it's probably a waste of time, but at the end of the day, our kids who go to Valley View, whatever middle school in Westlake, they know computers, they're comfortable with technology, they can operate them, and it's not a brand new thing. And I'd argue that our kids here have a huge advantage over kids in Milwaukee, Detroit, Indianapolis, St. Louis. Those are all cities that I go to, and we're always advocating for people, look, these kids need computers, they need iPads, they need to know how to do this stuff, because when AT&T tries to hire them, Verizon tries to hire them, CenturyLink tries to hire them, then you have to start from the beginning and teach all these kids all this technology and how to use computers and all that. And so I really feel like our kids would be much better prepared than a lot of people would compete against. And this is a global economy. We're competing against kids in China, India, Wisconsin, St. Louis, wherever. And Minecraft is annoying and whatever it is, but I'm willing to take that pill to get them comfortable with technology.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? All right, thank you. John, next image, please. Okay, so just a little bit on next steps. We will all be back here May 22nd and 23rd. And we will have another very intense couple of days. But what we will be doing at that time is we will take all of the words that we have heard, and we will now start translating those into the physical ramifications at each site, so that we understand, okay, if these are the things we are committing to, this is what we believe in, if this is what we want for our students to be successful in a global knowledge economy, if this is how we want to teach, if this is how we want them to learn, then what kinds of spaces should we have to make sure that we deliver on those expectations? Dr. Wellman, I will turn it back to you. I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity. Eanes ISD is a really incredible community, and your commitment to your learners is just so apparent. It's such a joy to be part of this process, so thank you.
Thank you very much. And this is a very important process. I hope you will share with those you talk to in the community that we are engaged in this process for at least another 6 months. We will continue this dialogue. We'll talk about it with our staff, our community, across all sectors. And I thank the board for encouraging this, for commissioning it, and for having us do this process. As time intensive as it is for you, I am very optimistic that we will have our roadmap for the next decade. Mr. Harding.
I want to thank all of you for coming and encourage you to stay involved. I think it would be wonderful if you could go home and brag on this process to your neighbors, especially those who are in that 70% that Mike talked about. We do need to involve them in this district, and it's in their interest that we have a good school system, whether it be their home value or their future cardiologist who walks in the room and takes care of them. So please stay involved, encourage. I think this is a process. We are only just beginning. We've made a lot of headway, but we've still got a long way to go. And there, as you see tonight, there are varied opinions. There's room for debate that's healthy, and I think we're going to have a great outcome, but that's dependent on participation. So thank you, and please keep participating and encourage others to join us in this process. Let me make note of upcoming meetings. On April 24th, we will have a regular meeting of the school board at Cedar Creek Elementary School. I don't know if you all know this, but we are conducting our regular meetings over the next 8 or 9 months now at different campuses. We're going to hit each campus. So we'll actually be back, I think, here again, but we'll be at Cedar Creek. On May the 7th, we have a study session at the administration building, and then on May the 29th, another regular meeting, and that will be at Mr. McCaslin's school, Forest Trail Elementary. So with that, I will adjourn tonight's meeting, and thank you for coming.